Yeah, welcome everyone. The Marijuana Times show for January 1st, 2018, our first show of 2018. Happy New Year, everyone. I am your host, Joe Klare. You find the videos for these shows, all of them, on marijuanatimes.org, along with other great news and opinions about the cannabis community and industry and what's going on legislatively and more. marijuanatimes.org. You also find these videos by searching the Marijuana Times on YouTube and on Facebook. And if you want an audio version of the show, search Apple Podcasts, aka iTunes, for the Marijuana Times show. And you get an audio version of the show on the go. Got a lot of stuff to talk about today, including contributor to the Marijuana Times, wrote about the 2017 HomeGrown Cup and his experience there. We'll talk about that. We'll also talk about, of course, the big news of the day. Recreational sales have begun in California, by far the largest market in the country for cannabis, and it always will be because of California's sheer size. We'll talk about that. Also, a man allegedly bit off his relative's ear in a dispute over marijuana. I know. That's crazy, isn't it? We'll talk about that coming up. But first, I want to tell you the Marijuana Times show is brought to you by Natureside, Cannabis.com, organic, all-natural pesticides. Their pesticides are already approved in Colorado and Washington and Oregon. Grow safe and poison-free. You want to put harmful chemicals onto what you are growing. You're going to have pest problems, and you got to take care of those pest problems, but you don't want to do it with harmful chemicals. You want all natural, organic pesticides, and you can get those from Naturesidecannabis.com. They can help you become regulatory compliant, too. A lot of states where cannabis cultivation is going on have strict regulations about pesticide use, so Natureside Cannabis and the folks there can help you become regulatory compliant. Go check them out. Again, a proud sponsor of the show. Naturesidecannabis.com. Our first story comes from marijuanatimes.org, where contributors from across the pond, as they say, Bill Griffin, wrote about the 2017 HomeGrown Cup, a harvest festival for the modern age. He says, in a location hidden in a forest in the Dutch region of Brabant, something rather wonderful happened. There was the third edition of the HomeGrown Cup, an annual event that draws home growers together to celebrate their harvest. Bill was lucky enough to attend the event last year as a guest, and this year he was entered into the outdoor category. Multiple categories were covered, including outdoor, indoor, hash, and concentrates. Bill says the principle of the cup is beautiful in its simplicity. Enter a category, and you get to be a judge of that category. Samples are distributed early in the afternoon, and then scorecards to be completed by deadline that evening. Scores are processed, and the awards ceremony wraps up the festivities, gives contestants and judges time to inspect their selection of samples. It's free to enter, but you must supply enough of your own submission for the judges to sample. Sponsors generously donated to cover the cost of renting the venue, food, and drinks. Go to marijuanatimes.org. You can read about Bill's experience at the HomeGrown Cup 2017 over in Brabant. I'm probably saying that right. I give myself a 90% chance of saying that right. So that's pretty good. If you watch this show on a regular basis, you know that's pretty good for me. In any case, so go check that out. And of course, in every video version of this show, and also on the stories on marijuanatimes.org, there are links to the stories that I talk about, so you can go read about Bill's experience at the HomeGrown Cup. Very interesting stuff. Of course, as I said, the big news of the day be the beginning of adult use recreational sales in California. There you can see tweet by Bruce Barcott. First legal sale in California. Some Harborside Health Center in Oakland, 6 a.m. this morning, made the first legal sale to Henry Wykowski, who Bruce says was the lawyer who beat the feds and kept Harborside alive. So that was the scene at Harborside this morning. It was the same scene in many places around California. 6 a.m. this morning, recreational sales officially began in the biggest marijuana market in the world. That, of course, being California. This story is from LA Times. Recreational pot sales rolled out in California with celebratory blunts and big crowds. Legal sale of recreational marijuana began in California on Monday with fanfare, celebratory blunts, and some anxiety. Companies began selling pot in a relatively small number of businesses Monday, with more expected to join in the coming days and weeks. That's the main thing if you're in California you got to remember for now is that there's a lot. There's still a lot to do. A lot. I mean, so there's supply is low. There's as little or as low a number of places selling recreational marijuana as there probably ever will be. As I said, that number is expected to go up soon. The state has issued dozens of permits for retailers to begin recreational sales this week, expanding a market that is expected to grow to $7 billion annually by 2020. Several of those retailers are in West Hollywood, but they won't open until Tuesday at the city's request. It means Santa Ana licensed stores are the closest option for Angelinos, better known as the people of Los Angeles and in the Los Angeles area, who went to buy recreational marijuana on New Year's Day. Buyers could also trek to San Diego or Palm Springs to purchase the pot to sell cannabis commercially in January for recreational or marijuana medical use. Marijuana businesses must have local approval and a state license. Existing medical marijuana dispensaries have been given first priority for recreational sales. As I mentioned a couple times on this show, they're expected to give out over 11,000 or award over 11,000 recreational licenses, whether it's for cultivators, processors, retail operations, and so on. So, as I said, they're just getting started. Hundreds of customers, everyone from older people in leisure suits to a young man in pajamas, got in line. Why? He's like, no, I'm not getting dressed. I'm going to buy a weed at 6 o'clock in the morning. I'm not getting dressed. It's not my first step. Some waited upwards of an hour to buy such things as pre-rolled joints to topical creams and foods infused with marijuana. Taxes are high in California, but I was reading a lot of tweets today saying there was flash sales and other ways that retailers were trying to bring down the price despite the high California taxes, which we did a story a few weeks ago. In some places in California, it can be upwards of 45%. A 45% tax is absolutely ridiculous. Even if you believe that, yes, marijuana should be taxed, it should be taxed heavily, I think 45% goes above and beyond a heavy tax. Urban Leaf, which operates stores in Bay Park and Golden Hill, rented a 40-foot bus to bring customers in from a bar in Pacific Beach. The company also had 31 drivers making deliveries in San Diego, which is currently the only part of the county where recreational cannabis can be sold. We can deliver marijuana in 20 minutes. It's like pizza, said Will Sen, co-founder of Urban Leaf. So this is going down in California. And there's a lot of sarcastic tweets this today about how the sky was falling in California, which obviously it won't. There's already millions of people in California using cannabis on a daily basis. They're just going to have easier access to it now. And again, in days and weeks ahead, more stores will open, supply will increase, and the long lines, if you're experiencing long lines in California, you probably will for a little while, but those will start to abate as the same thing happened in Colorado and Washington and Oregon. The long lines fall away, and it's business as usual as long as supply is enough to meet demand. This last story is from FoxLA.com. Relative bites victim's ear off over marijuana product on Christmas Eve in Northern California. This is from Ukiah, California. A 40-year-old man and his relative were fighting on Christmas Eve about a, quote, marijuana product, which led to the suspect biting off the victim's ear before spitting it out on the ground. This is according to Ukiah police. Police took Samuel Paul Galindo into custody on December 24th about 6 p.m. on suspicion of mayhem, assault with a dangerous weapon, which I'm assuming are his teeth, criminal threats, and for violating parole. Oh, wow. This guy was in trouble before? Imagine that. Efforts to reach him as a attorney on Wednesday were not immediately successful. He was not immediately available for comment. Relatives of Galindo in the 1100 block of North Oak Street called police to say Galindo and a 35-year-old relative were drinking heavily. Oh, again, my surprise. One, this guy's on parole. That's incredibly surprising. And there was heavy drinking involved. That is even more surprising. I really hope the sarcasm comes across. If not, I'm sorry. They had some, quote, disagreement regarding a marijuana product. Captain Justin Watt said in a statement, when police arrived, the victim had fresh blood running down his face and a portion of his ear was missing. He was taken to the hospital where he was treated and released. The exact state of his ear wasn't detailed by police. Well, that's not good news, is it? Relatives told police that Galindo became so enraged, he then, quote, forced the victim to the ground and began shoving his fingers into the victim's eyes. Galindo also reportedly told his relative he intended to kill him, quote, and bit off a portion of the victim's ear, which Galindo then spit out. The relative struggled free, and Galindo grabbed a cylindrical object and held it in his fist and tried to punch the victim, according to police. Wow, that is a crazy Christmas Eve, to be sure. I've never... As if they should have shared the marijuana product and not did any drinking, I suspect things would have went better. But hey, maybe not. Maybe it wouldn't have. Wish we knew more. I wish we knew what happened to the ear. I wish we knew what the marijuana product in question was. I mean, was it something very expensive? That might lead to some fisticuffs or some ear biting at the very least. Wow, it's crazy. This has been the Marijuana Time Show for the first day of 2018, New Year's Day, 2018. A lot of big stuff going on. We'll be here all throughout 2018 to cover it for you. Thank you to naturesidecannabis.com for being a proud sponsor of the Marijuana Time Show. Excuse me. Go check them out. Organic, all natural pesticides. If you want to sponsor the show, write us at info@marijuanatimes.org to see how you can be a sponsor. It's the first show of the year, as I said. We got a long way to go. We got a lot of stuff going to happen in 2018. We'll be here at the Marijuana Time Show to cover it all for you. See you next time.